At the beginning of the movie, we see two brothers living in a small house. One of them is named Pedro. All of a sudden, they hear the sound of bullets in the nearby bush, so they decide to go see what's going on. They didn't want to go to the jungle at night, though, so they decided to wait until morning. After getting up in the morning, they took their dog and went into the woods to look. When they finally find a dead body, it's in terrible shape because it was bitten in the middle. After seeing the dead body, Pedro's brother doesn't trust the landowner. As the owner of this land, he killed this man. Seeing the dead body, though, made it clear that no one had done it. After that, they find a bag next to the dead body. It had a strange thing and a map inside when it was checked. The map had a mark on it. When Pedro sees the mark, he knows that this is the house of a woman who lives close. Each brother then leaves to go to the woman's house to find out more about what happened and who the guy who was dying was. When they got to the woman's house and asked, they learned that the man was a cleaner, which is another name for a priest. In the movie, though, he's called a cleaner, and his job is to get rid of bad spirits like demons and devils. The woman says, "I let that cleaner into my house to kill my son. My son has been rotten for a long time, which means that his whole body is rotten. In reality, he was controlled by an evil spirit or power, like a devil. His body got very fat because of this, and any body that just lies on the bed and pus keeps coming out of it is rotten. This is because by giving in to the devil, that man can't do anything, and evil, the devil, keeps hurting that man until a worker or someone else kills him. But if someone else kills this bad, then that man who killed him and everyone around him, including his family, are also possessed by the evil spirit." Then, angry, Pedro asks that woman, Rotten's mother, why she hasn't told anyone yet. The woman replies that I told the church about it a year ago and that we have been waiting for help ever since, but no one has done anything. He still gets mad at the woman and her second son, though. They both went to the police station to tell them about it, though, since one brother couldn't do anything. The cops, on the other hand, start questioning them. In the middle of the talk, Pedro gets into a fight with a police officer. His brother then steps in and stops Pedro. "We can't help you right now," the cops say. "The first thing we'll do is check with the health department to make sure that he is indeed bad or sick. Then we'll know who killed that man who was dying, the cleaner. We can't do anything before that." Both boys take the name of the person who owns this land. Since the body of the cleaner was found on his land, and the house of the rotten was also on his land. The cops did not want to help them, though, and they give up, which is why they meet the landlord. Also tell him about the cleaner and the body of rotten. The owner of this land has now told us why everyone doesn't trust him. The owner of the land didn't like it at all that Rotten and his mother were living on it. So everyone thinks the landlord killed the cleaner, so he couldn't go to Rotten's house. The state of Rotten stayed the same. This wasn't done by the landlord, though. It was someone else who didn't want the cleaner to kill Rotten at his house. But the owner of the land didn't believe what Rotten said. He thought this was all part of a plot to take my land away. Now the landlord is furious and goes to kill Rotten at night. But Rotten's mother tells him not to. He's not a cleaner, so he's just a general person. So if he kills Rotten, the evil will take over the landlord and Rotten's family and torture them the same way. Fear is used by the bad spirit inside Rotten to trick people. By using their fear against them, it has power over them. Now, when the landlord went to kill him, he told him to do it so he could get away. Evil inside Rotten tells him to kill me, so I can take over and kill all the babies growing inside your wife. But in this case, the landlord has a hard time keeping himself in check. He comes outside and sits in his car. Father Pedro's mother and her brother came here in the morning. But the owner of the land had chosen to take Rotten's body somewhere else. He asks Pedro and his brother to help him with this, and they both agree. Now that Rotten's body was in the truck, the three of them set him aside. They got off the truck to throw Rotten after a long trip. The body of Rotten wasn't in the truck when they looked behind it. They knew there was a child in the middle of the road because of this. And to save him, when we slammed on the brakes, Rotten had to fall somewhere. No matter what happened, the owner of the land wanted his body to be taken away. The three of them will come to their house as soon as that work is done. The owner of the land's wife starts screaming in the morning when she sees her goats. He came out when he heard her voice. Then his wife shows him a strange goat that was acting strangely. The landlord also saw this as it was being done. It looked like Satan had taken over him when you looked at him. The owner of the land saw this and shot the goat. And the goat's actions made it look like the bad guy inside him was telling him, "Shoot me and kill me. After that, I'll finish with your family." This time, the landlord got so mad that he couldn't hold it in. He also did something wrong. In other words, he really kills the goat with a gun. In other words, he did what the bad guy wanted. Now the bad things could leave one person and go to the other. Now he goes to the body of the landowner's wife. Satan takes over her and makes her attack the farmer with an axe, killing him. After this, she kills herself by putting an axe to her head. She also killed her children this way, and the landowner's whole family was killed. Which is how we know that the bad guy Satan has such strong power that he took over a brain and killed the whole family. They were still at Rotten's house with Pedro and his brother. Their brother Rotten comes to them at night and tells them to stay here. Help was being asked for. He also talks about what happened to the landowner's family. Now Pedro's brother thought that maybe he was also taken by the evil. He tells the kid to go to the store and sleep, though, to calm him down. The child tells him before they leave, "Stay away from the electric things. It's good for you." We are going to find out why the boy said that now. Somewhere, Pedro and his brother knew that something bad was about to happen. He wants to leave this place in the morning because of this. He also tells his brother that we'll leave everything here, so that some bad things don't come with us where we're going. The next morning, Pedro burns his clothes and goes to see his ex-wife, whom he had left. But Pedro's ex-wife starts to fight with him. She asks, "Why are you here now to ruin my life?" At the same time, we saw that the dog attacked Pedro's ex-wife's daughter and took her outside with him. In fact, the dog had licked Pedro's clothes before they were burned, which means that evil has taken over the dog. The husband of Pedro's wife now goes outside to find his daughter and dog, and Pedro tells her not to shoot the dog, no matter what. But it's clear that where does a person's mind work in that case? When Pedro went outside to see, the dog was dead because his ex-wife's husband had shot it. This made Pedro feel bad. He did something he shouldn't have. When Pedro gets home, he is shocked and worried, because the daughter of his ex-wife had come home safely. The child's mother is glad to see that her daughter is still alive and safe. But this kid says something very strange. "Now your dad is going to get out of the car and kill you." Pedro became very scared when he heard this. Then he gets his car out of the garage and puts his two boys in it. He's about to leave, but then he saw that the husband of my ex-wife came with the car and hit his wife, making it look like she was dead. But when the child sees this, he or she doesn't get scared. Instead, they laugh because the evil had taken over them too. Afterward, her dad became crazy and killed his wife. When Pedro saw this, he quickly grabbed his sons and left. He went to his mother's house, where his brother was already there. Now Pedro gets his mother and brother into the car and drives away from town. On the way, Pedro's son tells his grandmother, "Tell us about having possession and having possession put on you." Everyone is scared when they hear her call. No one could have gotten away because of how the car hit her. He had also seen that she was dead. He still picks up the phone, though, and his wife talks badly about Pedro. Besides that, I promised to come with both of my kids. When Pedro hears this, he gets very scared. He thought that he was to blame for everything. He was also sick of everything. He then calms Pedro down with his brother. These people had left town, but they didn't have anywhere to go. His brother tells him that there is a woman named Mirta who lives a few miles away. "I know her. We are going there because she is going to give us money and help us make ends meet, because she's a great woman." In order to find Mirta, they went to her house. who has worked as a cleaner before. This is still how she acts today. They are welcome to live in her house. Everything that has happened to them so far is also told to Mirta by Pedro's brother. While this is going on, we see Pedro and his brother talking. Plus, we know that the two boys love each other a lot. His wife now shows up in the middle of the night. She runs off the balcony with her younger son. She had also been seen by Pedro. Before anyone could stop her, she had already run off. She wasn't there when it was checked. That's why Pedro starts to worry about his little boy. Now, Mirta, who was a cleaner and could see evil or people who were possessed. When she sees Pedro's bigger son, she knows that he is also possessed. She tells him that bad things have taken over his body. But because he is such a child, he doesn't say anything. That's why evil can't take over his mind yet. That's why evil is stuck inside him. After that, Mirta gets all of her cleaning tools together. That is, tools and things that are needed. She also says we need to finish Rotten. But Pedro's brother says that Rotten must be over since I said so. This is the reason why there is so much possession going on at once. Evil has taken over everyone. But Mirta tells him that what he is hearing is not true. It doesn't work this way. All of this possession is really happening to make evil come into the world. His brother told him that we left Rotten somewhere else. Mirta says you did the worst thing possible. Then Pedro says we couldn't do anything because the landowner made us. Now Pedro's brother wants to find his ex-wife and kid, while Pedro and Mirta go look for Rotten. From now on, their trip would be very hard. This is because evil has spread through the town. Besides that, they need to follow all the rules. What does Mirta mean when she says that evil will use what we are afraid of against us and make us face it? That's why she's going to take your son, because he scares you. Since they are on their way, Mirta tells Pedro her story, that my husband was a thief. In the name of the church, he used to scam people. For his work, he would hire women and make them play rotten and evil. During that time, the real possessed showed up one day. He got better after that and started cleaning, because he began to believe in possession, evil, and the damned. They are real, and he was scared as well. After that, my husband left to clean one day and never came back. Also, you can get away from a man who is bad or possessed. You have gone so far that you don't know where you are. I leave everything behind and live alone, just like you did. It's clear that evil has taken over Pedro's oldest son, on the other hand. And it was obviously very strange that he asked Pedro's mother for food. Now Pedro's brother sees Pedro's ex-wife walking down the street. She is also completely crazy. Her smaller son's head was in her mouth. When his brother Pedro saw this, he hit her with a car and crushed her. But he was also hurt pretty badly because of the crash with his car. When Pedro and Mirta go to a school to look for Rotten, they find all the kids sitting in a weird way. Anyone who sees, she tells Pedro to be quiet because she knows they have also been taken over by evil. At the same time, we see a strange kind of shade all over the school. Now, a girl walks up to them and says, "My dad took Rotten home." In reality, they were all lying to them to trick them, because they were all possessed. A lot of dead bodies are found under one floor of the school by Pedro and Mirta. They were killed by these kids and hid them here. Rotten was under them. At this point, Mirta sets up her cleaning gear and tells Pedro to get Rotten out of there. Just as Pedro was about to kill her, evil took over his mind to protect himself. Also, those kids did a great job of locking Pedro in the room. Mirta had been killed by the kids, and Pedro saw her body being dragged by them. When Pedro got mad, he broke the door, killed Rotten, and then went outside. He thought I was done with everything after this. But this wasn't the end of evil. It was just the start. Because this is what bad people have always wanted. Because I will be free when this person is dead, and his job was done. He now fully takes on the form of evil and waves his hand over Pedro's head. Because he helped bring him into the world. Now that evil is born, He goes out into the world to cause trouble and take over more people. So Pedro goes back home, where his brothers hug each other and cry because they are sad. Because they knew we couldn't do anything now, no matter how hard we tried. Otherwise, they would have fully admitted loss. It won't help them if they leave this place now. Now that this property has spread through the whole town, it will also spread through the city, which was about to quickly spread like an infection, making it impossible to get rid of. Then he remembers that we kept Rotten's younger brother hidden in the store. He talks to him and then tells him that I heard a voice telling me to kill and eat that cleaner. His brother Rotten had killed the man whose body he had found. Then he says, I killed and ate my mother the same way. He gives his son ice cream and then goes to bathe him. Also, he was shocked to see that the mark that Evil had put on his face wouldn't go away. That means the mark would not go away. Pedro's son began to cough, and blood and mucus began to come out of his mouth. Pedro began to clean it. That is, until he saw that my mom's hair and locket were coming out of his mouth. That scared him, because he knew that my son killed and ate his own grandma while he was high. Pedro went crazy when he saw this. He came out while he was getting ready. He feels very sad about all of this. Let me tell you what this bad thing does. He then takes on a body and hides in it. He keeps killing people in the town or city until someone else comes along and finishes off his old body. This is why he is here. He has another body and comes into it because of this. He then starts killing people again. He did that so he could get power from the dead and become so strong that he would be born and be the strongest person ever. What took place? He was killed by Pedro when he got strong enough in the right way. He also plans to destroy the world so that only his rule and property will remain. The story of this movie stops here with this terrible ending.